This is Rockin' with Jam Man. Is with T Bear. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I am doing great. I am really happy to be here with you. Actually, I'm happy to be anywhere, to be honest with you. Yeah, it feels good. It feels good to be with you, man. So
So
tell me, what's it like in Buffalo right now?
Buffalo, it's getting warm, but Buffalo's ain't that best of weather.
All right, all right. Tell me what you want to talk about because I am all yours. And thank you for having me on your show. It's really a privilege.
No, it's my privilege. Thank you. It's my pleasure. So for those who are watching and unfamiliar with you, can you tell
Can
me
you
all
turn
about
your volume up just a little bit, or let me turn mine up just for a minute? I've got it up a little further. Let me see if I hear you better.
so for those who are
Yeah,
watching
there's
un-
perfect.
okay. So for those who are watching and unfamiliar with you, can you tell me all about yourself?
Yeah, I am 6'1". I weigh about 300 pounds. Um, I play keyboards, write songs. I'm a singer-songwriter. I've been a studio musician most of my life. I started my first band at 11 or 12 years old. Um, I've been playing all my life. I love music. I just think it's a privilege and an honor, and it just moves me. It moves my soul, and I love playing live. I love being in the studio. I love writing songs, and I love talking to people that love music. I mean, that's to me the most important thing in the world. When I get to talk to people like you remind me of me. You really do. I was totally into it. I mean, I rode my bike down when I got home from school. I rode my bike down to the record store every week, and whatever came out, I bought. Even if I didn't know who it was, I'd say to the guy that owned the store, "Well, what should I get this week?" He'd say, "Oh, get Muddy Waters. Oh, get Procol Harum. Oh, get the new Stones album." And I'd take it home and listen and just you have gaga dreams. It was totally amazing. And I got a real serious attitude when it came to music. I I'd go to my piano in my parents' house. They had a piano, and I'd get the record player and put a piece of vinyl. It was vinyl records in those days. Put the vinyl on there, and it was a little box record player, and it had four speeds: 16, 33, 45, 78. So you got a 33 RP, album. You'd put it on 33, and you'd listen. And you try to figure out on the piano where the notes were. And if it was going too fast for you, you'd put it down to 16, which was half a 33 and a third RPM. It would be in the same key, and you could play the notes slower and learn the songs. And that's what I did. And then after school, I'd also go to friend's house, and we would pretend we were in a band, and we'd put everything on the stereo because his parents had a great stereo, and we'd play air guitar and air keyboards, but he had a drum set, and he'd play along with the records, and I was like, wow, I want to do this. And then as I got to be 12 years old, and I'm just looking for the picture now to see if I can come up with it. When I was 12 years old, I remember, let's see here. Here it is. I remember me singing. I don't know if you can see that,
I can.
but that's me singing at 12 years old in a really fancy suit. All right, at my bar mitzvah. Okay, that was at my bar mitzvah, and then I had a band also, and we started playing like dances and things like that. And the parents had to bring us out to the dances, and they'd help us set up, and I did that all through junior high and high school. And then finally, when I got finished with high school, I got a job at a music store in New York City called Manny's Music. And I worked down there displaying keyboards. I was like a keyboard demonstrator. And I would, take the train in the city, and then go to work and take the train home, or whatever. And I would just, demonstrate keyboards. And At the time, they were a keyboard called a Wurlitzer, a Rhodes, Fender Rhodes, a Vox Continental, a Italian keyboard called a Farfisa Combo Compact, and I just play them all, you know, and I'd play them, and people would like it, and they'd buy one or this and that and the other thing. My parents bought me a keyboard from down there. I started my band, and I was off and running. And I remember getting free passes to shows at the Fillmore East, and that was the premier kind of rock and roll venue that Bill Graham ran. And I remember going down to hear this band called the Iron Butterfly. And the Iron Butterfly had a hit called Inagata Divida. It was like 12 minutes long. It had like an 8-minute organ solo. And so I was really interested in it. And I wanted to hear this guy play his organ solo. So I went down, got passes, sat down in the middle of the you know, I think it was like around 12th or 13th or 14th row in the center. And I'm sitting there, and the announcer goes, "Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have an opening act that's not on the bill tonight, but it's their second appearance in the United States. Would you please give a warm welcome to Led Zeppelin?" And I was like, who are these guys? Because nobody knew. And then you know, we figured out, okay, this guy was in the Yardbirds, you know, and this guy was, and it was amazing. I mean, they hit the stage, they played their first album. It was the best rock and roll set I've ever heard in my entire life to this day. And when they were finished, the place was like, it was done. It was like a bomb was dropped. Everybody left. Poor Iron Butterfly only had about, I don't know, 100 people left in the audience, and I wasn't one of them. I went, I've heard enough tonight. So that's the kind of thing that set me up. And then I went to a lot of open mic nights and folk nights in the Village, and went throughout New York City, and you know, listened to all kinds of different bands. There was a lot of bands from the 60s that were still happening. That, you know, this was in the 70s, like 1969 and 1970, 71. You know, I started, you know, getting little jobs playing on demos and things like that. Then I got a job at a jingle house to write jingles. You know, you're writing a song about each jingle house in the city would get like the copy from the advertising agency. And the copy would be, okay, we want you to write a song about Jell-O. We want you to write a song about Kawasaki motorcycles, or Chevrolet, or Miller Beer, or Coca-Cola, you know, and we'd all sit down and try to write songs like that. So I got really, really good at learning how to start writing stories in a very short amount of time, because when I started writing songs as a songwriter, I realized that you couldn't stretch out like on a long playing album. And, you know, you had to tell the story in under 3 minutes or 4 minutes, because otherwise it wouldn't get on the radio. So that's how I started. I started with rules and regulations, and then kind of, you know, busted my way in, and, you know, started working with different bands. There was a guy called Richie Havens. There was a thing called Woodstock. And when Woodstock happened, Richie Havens was the opening act on Woodstock. And then he saw me play, and he invited me to play in his band, and I played festivals with him. And then I played on his record, Mixed Bag 2. And then I went, wow, this is great. And then I went down to Fillmore East again, got a backstage pass, was standing on the side, and the band that was playing was the Grateful Dead. And it was a jam night. It was Grateful Dead, a band called Traffic, and another band called Hot Tuna. And I got pointed to by one of the guys in the Dead. I think it was, to this day, it was either Bob Weir or Jerry Garcia, and they invited me out. I was a kid. I was like 18, 19 years old, to sit in and jam with them. And I thought to myself, I've arrived. This is what I want to do the rest of my life. And so that's kind of what I did, and I just was really lucky. I had, the planets kind of aligned for me. I listened to a lot of records. I figured out how people were playing on them. I I copied them. Honest to God, I was a copier, um, and I copied them so I could play the chords and the things like that. And then I started getting my own um, technique. I did my own. I got I would hear something that someone played, and then I'd kind of change it to fit my style. But it taught me a lot. It taught me how to play, on sessions, on jingles, on records. And then I got really lucky. I played on a bunch of hits, and then all of a sudden I was like a guy that people wanted to play on their records. So I played on Kiss records, and I played on, um, you know, Billy Squier's records, and I played on Crosby, Stills and Nash records, and I went out and toured with Stephen Stills, and I wrote songs with this one and with that one, and then I got a record deal. It was great. It was great. So I hope that kind of gives your listeners an idea who I am, and then we can talk about what's going on now and how I got to this point.
So was that entire story, is that like, how did you become the go-to guy when someone needs a keyboard player?
Well, I was a go-to guy because I was really fast in the studio and really efficient. And so when Kiss or Gene Simmons, for example, and Peter Criss, said we're making a record, we're each making individual records, solo records, we want you to play on it. I became the go-to guy because I could bring a lot of value and a lot of good musicianship. And I also had the ability of doing arrangements or giving somebody an idea. What if we kind of put this chord there, or if we added a little pause here for dramatic, efficiency. That's what would happen. That's what happened. So I became the go-to guy that way. And there was a lot of people talk about you. It creates a buzz, like you have a buzz, because of your age. And people go, wow, he's really interested in music. Look what he's done so far. And you have a buzz that's developing, and you're going to be the go-to guy people to want to get on your podcast and be interviewed by you, because you have a passion. And that's what I had. I had a passion. It was strong, it was honest, and it was genuine. If you bullshit people, you get found out right away. Right away. So you got to be kind of authentic, genuine, and you've got to be real, and that's hopefully that's the way I write my songs. People think that, and they're really happy to, to get to know me that way. The people that don't know me, once they figure out what I'm about and the records that I've made or the ones that I'm making, they want to continue a relationship. And I think it's really important to have a relationship with people that want to have a relationship with music. And all the people that I played with on their records, and some of them were hits, some of them were not hits, but the one thing they all had in common is they wanted to make a good record. I had times when I politely declined things because I didn't, want to be a part of something that I thought was really bogus or didn't feel right to me. Because once you put your name on something, or once you play on something, it's forever. So, that's my story. There's a guy I'm playing with right now, I'm touring with. His name is Walter Trout. And Walter Trout has made 31 albums, okay? And Walter Trout was in a band called Canned Heat at one time. That Canned Heat played Woodstock. and they got real popular with Going Up the Country, a hit that they had. And then he played with a guy called John Mayall. And John Mayall is being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's an inductee this year. And John Mayall had a band called the Blues Breakers in England. And John Mayall was the godfather of British rock, British blues. And in John Mayall's Blues Breaker was Jimmy Page from Zeppelin, Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, and a whole bunch of other people. Peter Green from the original Fleetwood Mac. And then when those guys left, Walter Trout became the guitar player, an American guitar player. And so I play with Walter now, and I spent a year now with him in his band because he's really authentic. He's real. He's laying it down every night. He writes great songs, and I really enjoy playing with him. And I've known him for 30 years, and that's great when you can get to play the kind of music that's people are showing up and enjoying.
Out of all celebrities you worked with, who was your favorite and why?
What's my favorite celebrity and why? Ooh. I wrote songs for Cher, who was a great actress, and she had a lot of hit records. And I met her through the Kiss guys, and she was one of my favorites because she was no nonsense. She didn't do drugs. She didn't drink. She didn't get high and, was crazy. She just had a great work ethic, and so I wrote her a few songs. I helped her put a rock and roll band together that she toured with. I really liked working with her. She was really a lot of fun. The other guy that I really enjoyed working with was Stephen Stills from Crosby, Stills and Nash. A phenomenal guitar player, a great songwriter, and we've had a really great relationship. Let's see, who else can I'm not a name dropper, but wow. Oh, Pat Benatar was amazing. I met her in a comedy club, and she was a singer in a comedy club doing like ballads and stuff that were like, top 40 kind of cover songs. And I started going in the studio with her and recording with her and helped her get a record deal. And she got a record deal, and the rest is history. She's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, so, that was amazing. There's some old people that no one would really know that I thought was amazing. I'll mention a great songwriter, a guy called John Prine, who I got to meet, and he influenced my life because he was such a great songwriter. So that's a couple of the celebrities or people that I've enjoyed working with. There's probably a ton more, but we only have tonight. You have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a whole bunch more questions.
Let's go. I'm here for you.
So, why did you take a 25-year break from music?
Great question. I took a 25-year break from music because I got married. I started to raise a family. And my wife at the time, she said to me, look, you've been out playing music, your whole life, but now that we're starting to have kids and we got a family, this and that, you can't be on the road touring all the time. I need you home. Let's do some things together, So I kind of she kind of laid down the law. She said, no more music for you for a while. She said, you can do the occasional record date, playing as a session man, but no more touring, no more going out, 4 nights a week playing somewhere. So I raised a family for that long. And And then as time takes its toll and relationships sometimes take a toll, we got divorced after 20 something years of marriage. And I met another woman shortly thereafter, a woman called Nina. And she said, "Oh, I know who you are. I know what you played on it. I have some of the records that you played on. I know. In fact, my ex-boyfriend was a guitar player in your band a long time ago." And she said, "I want you to put a band back together." We were starting to date, and then we moved in together. She said, "I want you to put a band back together. I want you to go make records. I want you to, do the things that you need to do to satisfy your soul and give you juice in your life." And she nagged me for about a year or two. And then finally I put a band together and played some live dates, and I just loved it. And then I was playing on a record session over at Robby Krieger's house, studio. He has like a private studio, not his house, but a private studio in Glendale called Horse Latitudes. Robby Krieger was the guitar player in the Doors, for some of your listeners. And Robby came in the studio and said, "Hey, man, why don't you make some records here? Why don't you make your record here? Why don't you start doing what you did?" And I was like, wow, I don't have deep pockets, Robby. I'm not signed to a label anymore. I used to be signed to a label. They would pick up the shortfall of the money, but I don't have it. He said, "Tell you what, you come in here, you record your record, and I'll give you the studio. You pay for the engineer." I said, "Wow, that's a generous offer." And so I called all my friends up, and I called everybody I knew in LA that I'd played with in the past, and they showed up. They showed up, and over the next 18 months, we cut 23 tracks, 21 originals, two covers, and it started to sound like an amazing record. And one of the best mixers on the planet showed up and said, "Oh, I want to mix it, man." And this is what's interesting. And I'll tell you this story about being real and working with people. They never forget. And here it is. The guy that produced the album that I'm talking about, and that album is called Fresh Bear Tracks. And it's called Fresh because I hadn't put a record out in that many years. Okay. And the guy that mixed it, considered one of the best mixers in the world, was playing golf with the guy that produced this record. And he said to Tony Bronigal, the producer, he said, "Tony, what are you working on?" And Tony said, "Oh, I just finished a Richard T. Bear record." And he said, "Richard T. Bear? I haven't heard that name in forever. What's the deal there?" And he said, "Well, he decided to come and make another record." He says, "Well, I want to mix it." And we said, "We can't afford you." And he says, "No, no, 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 you don't understand. When Richard started and he got his first record deal, I was the assistant to the assistant tape operator at the studio he did his demos at, where he got his deal. And he was so polite, so nice to me, and so authentic to me. I remember one day when lunch came in and everybody's sandwiches got there and mine was left out, he gave me his sandwich. He remembered that. And he says, "No, this is a guy that I wanted. It's going to be a full circle." What I didn't know, Jam Man, about him was that he was terminally ill with cancer. And I was going to be about one of his last projects to work on. So it was a complete full circle of life. And, I was really glad that he did that and I got to, hang with him. So that's why I took those 25 years off, to raise a family and then get back into it. And Nina is the last song on the record. It's called Nina's Song. And the reason why I have an homage and I dedicate that album to Nina, that was my wife. She passed away a few months before the album was finished. And, I wouldn't have done a record unless she had nagged me like she did and wanted me to do it. And When she passed away, she left me a note, and the note said, finish the record, go out on tour, never cancel another gig, have the best life, fall in love again. So that record's dedicated to her. And guess what? I got a record deal right away when the record was finished. So that's what happened. I'm on Quarter Valley Records and finished that record. They put it out during COVID. One of the songs went to #1 in Europe on Quarter Valley Records, the one with Stephen Stills and Stephen and Walter Trout trading licks on it, called "Give It Up." That was #1 in Europe, and the album got critical acclaim. And I was really, really proud of that album. And the record company said, "You know what? We love you as an artist. We love you because you're a real deal, and we want you to make another record." So what I did was kind of at the end of COVID and right after that, I went back in the studio and made this one. It's called "The Way of the World." It's the one that's out now. And by the way, the single on this album went #1 in Europe as well. On Easter Sunday, I looked at the charts in England, excuse me, in Europe, over in the Netherlands, and in the Hit 100, T-Bear was #1. And so that was great, and that means a lot to me, because I write authentic, genuine, real songs, and they're homage to the people that taught me how to play, how to write, and how to make records. So that's why I took a hiatus. What's your next one?
Now, you talking about your new album, does this album have a personal meaning at all?
Does this album what?
Have a personal meaning?
A personal meaning? Yeah, it does. Well, if I look at the songs on it, here's a list of the songs. The Way of the World is really about the kind of world we're living in today and how it affects me and the things I come up against, and my ability to reason out why things are going the way they are. Sign on the Dotted Line is all about, it's an homage to, like, be careful what you wish for, you might get it. And if you get it, it might not be the one thing that you really wanted, in your life. Before the Fall is an homage to Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys, Mozart, and Amy Winehouse. It's real kind of classical meets British soul and surf punk. So it's kind of like that. Jewel is an homage to not the singer Jewel, but to Leon Russell, who inspired me because I saw him in a band called Mad Dogs and Englishmen with Joe Cocker at the Portchester Theater, and I was never the same after that. After I saw that show, that was nuts, man. There was 22 people on stage. I mean, dogs, cats, kids, somebody baking a pie. I mean, and the horns, and all the people in that band went on to amazing, careers playing with the Stones and everybody. So Leon Russell was probably one of the biggest influences in my career, in my life. Walter Mitty's Glasses is a song that I wrote a short story about. I write stories, and how I write songs is I start with the lyrics, and then I put the music to it. For example, Elton John writes music, and Bernie Taupin, his partner, writes the lyrics. In my case, I am both Bernie and Elton. I write the music and the lyrics. And Walter Mitty's Glasses is kind of a tongue-in-cheek reggae song that is all about a guy that picks up a pair of glasses, and when he puts them on, and he looks in the mirror. There's somebody else looking back at him. He's like, who is this? And it comes from a movie called Walter Mitty. Walter Mitty was a movie in the 60s. It was also a movie in about 8 years ago with Ben Stiller, Sean Penn, Kristen Wiig from Saturday Night Live. And it's all about a guy that daydreams all the time and all these fantasies come true. Walter Mitty is all about a guy that walks into an antique store, my version, and he gets some glasses. And when he puts them on, someone else is looking back at him and he says, where'd you get these glasses? He says to the owner of the antique store, he says, I don't know, a guy comes in with a box of glasses. And he says, but whose glasses are these? These are really weird. Look, when I put them on, there's a whole different thing, a different vibe. I'm not even, it's not me anymore. And the guy says, I don't know. A guy comes in with a box. We buy the glasses and he looks at it. And on the side of of the stem here, it says property of Walter Mitty. So I made that into a song. Let's see what else. A Change Would Do Me Good. That's the #1 record over in Europe. And that's really just a Bo Diddley beat. Bo Diddley was a great blues and R&B artist. And I love that. Hey, Bo Diddley. So I took that beat and ran with it. Let's see. Your Husband's Got a Gun is all about a guy that goes and plays with someone's wife and gets caught, and her husband's got a gun. This bird is flown is an homage to the Beatles, Norwegian Wood, because it has a line in there that says this bird is flown. Breathe is something that I had to learn to do during COVID because I couldn't go out. I couldn't, go to nightclubs. I couldn't go to studios. I couldn't even go to the grocery store. It was crazy. Everything was locked down. And I asked a therapist, I said, well, what should we do during this time of the pandemic? And she says, we can all get this through, we can all get through this together one day at a time if we breathe. So I wrote that song, Breathe, and it happened in like 10 minutes. And there's a word called therapy, but if you put a B in it, it's barapy. So it's barapy. That's what she said to me. They Can Kill You is all about girls. And, and sometimes when you go out with a girl, they do things that I can't understand, but they'll kill you. They just kill you in so many different ways. So I wrote a little soul song about that. Dinner for One is all about a Cuban romanticism from like the 40s and 50s. There was a movie called, it was like a documentary called The Buena Vista Social Club. And that was all about musicians and singers from Havana back in the 50s. And I listened to the way they sang and the way they wrote songs. So I wanted to write a Latin song. And the reason why I liked Latin music is because I was born in New York City, but I was raised in the Caribbean and in Puerto Rico and the Bahamas and Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and back in Florida. And that's Dinner for One, all about a guy that makes this elaborate meal. And, for the woman that's going to have dinner with him, but she never comes over. She never comes. True Romance is all about slow dancing with your best girl and thinking that this is the end of the world. I'm in heaven. Little bit of heaven on earth. And the bonus track, Red Harvest, I had the fortune to sing a duet with Paul Rodgers. And Paul Rodgers was in a band called Bad Company and Free, and is probably the best British rock and roll singer in the world. And he did the duet with me. And it was all about, Red Harvest is all about the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. And I wrote a poem called Red Harvest, and I got permission from the record company to go in the studio and cut it. And like everybody showed up. Lawrence Juber, who co-produces The Way of the World with Tony Bronigal, we cut the whole album in his house. We did it in someone's house, and it sounds great. It was recorded great. It was mixed great. It's sonically wonderful record. And everybody came together for Red Harvest. And the funny story about that is at one time I played with a band called Crosby, Stills and Nash and did a song called Southern Cross, which was a mega hit for them. Played keyboards on it and got to be good friends with, of course, with Stephen Stills because we were really good mates, but also David Crosby, who died last year. And I called Crosby up because the Ukrainian invasion was 2 years ago. And I said, I want to do a song called Red Harvest. And all our friends, yours and mine, are showing up to the studio. And I want to get it out there by next week or the week after so that we can put a link on there to raise money for the Ukrainian Red Cross and also for the World Kitchen, who are feeding people. And he said, all right, let me listen to it. So I sent it to him, and I hadn't heard from him in about 2 days. So I called him. I said, hey, we finished the recording. Can I get you down here to sing on this? And he says, oh, well, I couldn't do it for a week or so because I'm really busy. But hit me up next week. And that night, by sheer, like, I don't know, the planets align, Paul Rogers called me on the phone and said, I want to sing on this song. And you got me. And so we went in the studio and did it. And with him, we sent him, we finished what we had to do. We sent him, he was living in Canada at the time, and we sent him the tracks by Pro Tools, all the stems. He went in the studio, finished it, and like within a day, I mean, it was done. So that's the bonus track on here. It's really, really good song. Yeah, I write from the heart. I write from the heart. I don't, um, sometimes it's tongue in cheek. Sometimes it's gallows humor. Your husband's got a gun. Sometimes it's, black comedy, but it's all real. It's all real. Everything on there is real.
Do you have some headline shows to promote the new album?
Um, I have some shows that I'm doing in LA this month. I'm doing the Write Off Room in let's see, May on I believe it's I got to go look. I'll tell you exactly when. Just give me a sec here. Okay. No, it's June. I'm going to be playing shows in June. I'm playing in Bakersfield I'm playing in Bakersfield May 17th, opening for Mike Zito, actually, great blues guitar player. And then I'm playing in let's see, May 23rd at the Write Off Room, and then June 22nd at the Mint in LA. So I've got those 3 shows. And then I'm going back on the road to do a complete Midwestern tour with Walter Trout. We're doing the Midwest. We're doing the Northeast. We're going to be playing in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and up the coast, and then maybe some down the coast stuff. I don't know if we're going to come in your neck of the woods, but if I do, I'll let you know. And yeah, that's great playing with Walter because he gives me a lot of stage time and allows me to, he introduces me, talks about me, tells everybody to listen to these records. And then I'm one of his favorite, keyboard players in the world. So it's been fun playing with him. We just got back from a 16-country tour in Europe, and then we went to Australia. I played Australia, and then I did a headliner show in Wellington, New Zealand. So I was in New Zealand as well last month, and I'm back now, and I'm writing the new album as we speak. It's going to be called The Book of Secrets, and it's going to be a really interesting album. All the songs are chapters in the Book of Secrets. And do you know where the Book of Secrets is? Right here.
Yeah.
That's where your Book of Secrets are. Yeah. So Jam Man, you got a Book of Secrets and it's going to be right here, my brother. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Secrets locked up.
That's right.
What is life like for you on the road?
Oh man, it's different. It's different as you get older. You get a little more grumpy on the road than you do when you're younger. I've also got to tell you, and I break my anonymity because I can do that. I'm clean and sober a long time, a really long time, and so I don't get loaded. And so to me, I'm around now because I didn't do drugs for all these years, and I didn't get loaded. And life on the road for me is it's hard, but it's really rewarding. I play 5 or 6 nights a week or 4 or 5 nights a week, and you know I really really look forward to playing to people because to see their reactions. When you signal someone out from the stage and you point at them, you go, "This is for you," and you're playing something, and you go, you know, "Thank you for coming," and then you meet them after the show at the merch booth. They're so grateful to have an interaction with you, and I love people that have a relationship with music. Anybody that supports live music today is top tier in my
Yeah,
in my
man. Yeah.
right. Am I right?
Mhm.
Anybody that supports live music is top tier in our eyes. And they come out, they lay their good money down, they play, they grab you, they I mean, I have people come up to the merchandise booth, they don't have a CD player to play this. They don't own a CD player, but they want you to sign it and they want to go home with something that's yours, that they have an interaction with you. And so, you go gig to gig to gig. And a lot of times they're not in these really fabulous tour buses. Sometimes it's in a van, you know. Um, and with Walter, we go around in a van. He's got his own van, and we try to get gigs that are close together. But once in a while, we have an 8-hour drive or 11-hour drive, and that is really tough. I mean, it's really hard to eat, truck stop food, because I try to get, healthier food and things like that. But you know what? The payoff at the end of the day is you get to play for people. They get to hear you. You have that interaction. And on stage, when you're playing with a great band, there's nothing like it in the world.
What's the best venue you've ever played?
What's the best what?
Venue you've ever played?
Best venue. Woo, 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 woo. Um, I'll give you a couple. Um, I played a couple of live shows. One was Philadelphia on the steps of the Art Museum. That was phenomenal. And I was 20 years old at the time. And I opened for, this kind of jazz vocal quartet called Manhattan Transfer. And I was alone at the piano. The other one I loved was Dana, Florida, where I opened for Jeff Beck, and that was great. Um, One of the most amazing venues that I played was Detroit's Cobo Hall. I played there 2 nights, and I was on the bill with let's see, it was Jay Giles Band, Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes, and Richard T. Bear. And the people in Detroit are vicious. I mean, they can I curse?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. They're fucking out of their fucking minds. They're those fucking people are nuts. And I go out and I love the hall, right? Because it's a rock and roll hall. It's 18,000 people. It's this great venue. It's legendary. I go out and as I say good evening, I get hit in the face with a tennis ball. You know, and I'm like, what the fuck was that about? You know, and I looked at everybody in the band and Peter, the lead singer of Jay Giles' band, Peter Wolf, he's like, he looks at me from the corner of the stage. He wanted to see me play, and he looks at me and goes, "Fuck them up. Go out there and fuck them up. Don't let them. You know, you're the boss. Fuck them up." And he's yelling that at me. You know, I said to everybody, "All right, turn everybody up. Everybody, turn up the Marshalls." You know, and we just blew the first four rows down. So I loved that venue. That venue was great. I mean, I've played all over the world in a lot of venues. That was great. And also, I just played Liverpool, England, and I played a
Wow.
place. Yeah, I played a place called is Brian Epstein Theater, and that's where the Beatles were. You know, I played one of those places where the Beatles were, so that was kind of fun. Yeah,
What's the worst venue you ever played?
the worst venue. Wow. Hmm. It's the worst venue. I played a place right across from Sing Sing Prison in Ossining, New York, when I was 16, 17. And we were chased out of the place by a gang of motorcyclists. The
Mm.
motorcycle gang chased us, you know, and we all got in the van and they came after us, you know.
What you guys
And
do?
huh?
What you guys do?
Well, I think one of the guys hit a guy with a mic stand because he climbed up on stage. And I think that it started it, you know. Um, and then there was one other place that I played that was really funky and the people were complete assholes. It was a place in somewhere in Massachusetts or Boston or something. They were firemen and policemen, and they were all drunk, and there was fist fights and stuff, and there was bottles being thrown and fists being thrown, and you know, I got behind the keyboards and stuff. That wasn't a great gig either, you know.
What's on your writer?
What's on my rider? The rider we have now is we need muesli, oat milk, um, uh, carrots, celery sticks, uh, guacamole, Diet Cokes, non-alcoholic beer. What else is on there? Oh, bread, tuna in cans, um, cold cuts. What else did we have? And oh, a George Foreman grill, so that we could toast our sandwiches. I think that's it.
Do you have a ritual before you go on stage?
Say again?
Do you have a ritual before you go on stage?
Yes, a ritual. Yeah. All the band comes together, and each guy, everyone on a different night. One night it'll be the drummer, the next night it'll be the bass player, next night it'll be the guitar player, next night it'll be me, next night it'll be someone else. And we say, okay, bring us together, bring us on stage, you know, and tell us what we're going to do tonight, you know. And our ritual is kind of like this. Okay, let's all be thankful for that we're here and have a great gig and be the best show that these people have ever heard, and just let's knock them dead and have a lot of fun. Let's go. So that's kind of the one of the rituals. Yeah.
Ever have a crazy interaction with a fan?
A crazy interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one follow me from Hamburg to Munich.
What?
Yeah, and then follow me all around the the tour, kind of stalked me. And then another guy was a pilot on Air New Zealand 747, and he played guitar and wanted to play on my album. So he got a flight into Germany that he was the pilot on from Auckland to Munich, and then showed up at the studio and said, "I want to play on your record," in his pilot uniform with a guitar.
So I got a question about you being stuck. So when you're getting stuck, like almost across the, like countries, almost in cities like that, when when you're getting stuck, do you like see them every like in the corner of your eye, almost like the people who are stalking you? Like,
You can see somebody when they show up at a multitude of gigs, and you know that they're either just rabid fans, or that you can see something that's kind of weird and off about them. Yeah, those are the ones you got to really watch out for, because you never know, what's someone's feral or not.
anybody can do anything, man. It's crazy.
Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
What is your favorite memory from playing a show?
My favorite memory from playing a show?
Yep.
Was that the question? Wow. I played a show where somebody came up to me and said that they heard a song on an album of mine, and it moved them so much that they didn't commit suicide that night. That they thought to themselves, if I could write a song like that about something that was that, painful, um, then maybe they could seek help and get through their pain some way. That was, you don't often save a life, but that I really thought I saved a life that time.
What do you do on your downtime for fun?
On my downtime. On my downtime, I'm a lighting designer, and I do like lighting jobs for restaurants, churches, synagogues, hospitals, hotels, um, stores, markets, homes. I own a lighting company called Bear Lighting, and I love doing that. It's not entertainment lighting; it's just regular commercial, residential, business to business lighting. Um, and I've done that for that's what I did when I was took the hiatus from music for all those years. I had a lighting company. I went to work every single day, sold light bulbs every day. Still have the company. Still do both.
That sounds crazy, man. Do you love doing both?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love hanging out with civilians, not just people in the entertainment business. I like authentic, real people. It's great. I'll talk to anybody. That's the whole thing. I want to learn. I want to learn from people. I also have a pilot's license. I also have a sea captain's license. I've had a boat, and I've flown airplanes, and like every 10 years, I kind of try to reinvent myself and do some things that are challenging, that kind of, you need your noggin to do.
What is your worst memory from playing a show?
Worst memory from playing a show was coming out, traveling a long way to get somewhere, and there were more people on stage than in the audience. That was hard. And I played a full show. I played to like the 4 or 5 people that were there, and the 4 or 5 people included, the ticket taker, the bartender, the waitress, the sound guy. It was like one of those shows that no one showed up for. And kind of kills you. It breaks your heart.
I mean, I can understand that, putting in all that work, writing those songs, preparing
That's
yourself.
why that's why I say I have total respect for people that go out and listen to live music. You know, it's totally, knocks me out when I see people that show up and because there's so many excuses that people use. In LA, for example, where I live, that's like one of the worst towns for live music there is ever. I mean, it's like people will use every excuse over well, why didn't you come to the show? Well, I had to get up in the morning. Why didn't you come to the show? Because it wasn't free. Why didn't you come to the show? Um, well, I'll come to the show when you're single again. Yeah. Why didn't you come to the show? Oh, because there's a 20% chance of rain. I mean, come on. I only go see tribute bands. You didn't put me on the guest list. You know, okay. There's a million excuses. But when you get people that really support you, it's that's the most fun because you play your heart out for them.
What's next for you?
Next for me is the Book of Secrets. Um, I just finished a bunch of songs. There was a great novelist called J.D. Salinger, and he wrote a book called The Catcher in the Rye, which is considered in American literature one of the greatest novels ever written. It's considered a national treasure, and I learned all about him from watching a documentary about him. And he was such an interesting guy, and he lived such a hard existence for 3 or 4 years. He was in World War II, and he was in 280 days of frontline combat. And after 60 or 65 days in combat, you have permanent PTSD, and he was in for 280 something days. So he kind of just took to the mountains of Vermont and New Hampshire and built a home up there. And even though he was the most famous novelist and writer in America at the time, and The Catcher in the Rye was considered the greatest book ever written, he wouldn't come down off the mountain. He wouldn't he wouldn't do interviews with anybody. He wouldn't let Hollywood make his books into movies. Um, and he had his heart broken because he was in love with a girl he had met before he went off to war. And he said, when I come back, you're going to be old enough so I can marry you. She was like 16 or 17 when he went off to war. And he said, when I get back, you'll be over 21. And he was only, he's like 2 years or 3 years older than her. And when I come back, I'm going to marry you. And she was Eugene O'Neill, the famous playwright, his daughter, called Una O'Neill. And when he was over in combat, he had shown her picture to the guys in the platoon. And he says, this is the girl I'm going to marry. And one of the guys said, no, you're not. He said, what do you mean? He said, well, look at the newspaper. And he showed him a picture of Charlie Chaplin, the famous, actor comedian, weds Una O'Neill. So she married another guy before he could get home. And he wrote Catcher in the Rye from that moment on. So I wrote a song called The Ballad of J.D. Salinger, the Book of Secrets, because he was living a life like that. So I'm going to do that. I've got a song I'm working on right now about a guy that had a series on TV for the last 8 or 9 years and committed suicide, called Anthony Bourdain. It's called No Reservations. This is the song. His show was called No Reservations. He was a chef that went around the world and hipped everybody up to what was like to be a chef and different foods and things like that. He was a very interesting guy. And I have songs like that. I yeah, it's the next record. Oh, and I'm going to do, hopefully, God willing, I have a song that I'm finishing that's 18 minutes long, 11 pages of lyrics, okay, that I'm going to make a animation out of. And it's called Henry, the Greatest Show on Earth. And it's all about a kid that's your age in 1951 that leaves a home where his father's an alcoholic and his mother's passed away and he has no siblings. And his father just fucking yells at him all day long and he's just drunk. And, you know, his mother comes to him in a dream and she says, Henry, not Henry, she says, Travis, his real name is Travis. And she says, Travis, it's time for you to leave. He gets on a train. He's your age, right? He gets on a train in the middle of like Homestead, Florida, which is south of Miami. And he travels all night long and he gets off the train in the morning and it's still dark. And he's trying to make out where he should go. The train pulls away. So even the lights from the train are gone and it's completely kind of gray and dark. And this massive thing walks by him and there's thud, 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 and another thud, thud, and a massive thing walks by him. And the sun's starting to come up and he looks across the street from where he is and he sees a sign that says, Winter Home of the Greatest Show on Earth, Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. And so he gets off the train right at where the circus is, their winter home. And a woman in a tent across the way beckons for him to come over. And he walks over and she says, I'm the cook here. I saw you get off the train. Are you hungry? He says, yes, ma'am. And she says, oh, I'm going to feed you, but you got to help me clean up after. And he says, yes, ma'am. And he eats and he's helping her clean up. And she says, what's your name? And his real name is Travis Dupree. And he says, I can't tell you, ma'am. She goes, oh, you can't tell me, Karen. You won't tell me? He says, no, I can't tell you. She goes, well, we're going to call you Henry from now on. He said, well, why Henry? She says, because in the circus, we speak in code, and Henry is the code for runaway. Obviously, you're a runaway. And he stays with the circus for the rest of his life. Imagine if you left your house right now, got on a train, got dropped off somewhere in Canada, and you spent the rest of your life with the people that you got off the train with. And in 2017, that was the last show, it's true, of Ringling Brothers Circus. That's when they closed the circus. And he goes from 1951 through 2017 when he's an old man actually, and stays with the circus the whole time. And the song is all about Henry and his life in the circus. So that's what I'm working on right now.
How do my followers follow you?
How do they follow me? Well, there are going to be links. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Every Tuesday from 1 to 1:30, I do Facebook Live from LA, from my house. I do a show called Live at the Bear Cave. And people from all around the world are on that show, and it's a real fun show to be on. Then I have another show that I've done that I'm going to resurrect this fall, and it's called The Bear Facts. And it's interviewing with people that I've known throughout my life that are famous musicians and people like that. And they can follow me, on Quarto Valley Records. They can look me up and get my my bio and all that, tbear.rock, .com and all that. And they can go and get the new album, which is called, let me get the one that's not shiny. And it's called The Way of the World by T-Bear, and it's on Quarto Valley Records. And you can get it through that label, or you can go on Spotify or all the streaming platforms and really enjoy it. And then follow me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and see me when I come to your area. Thank you for letting me be on your show, Jam Man. I'm like real excited to be here today.
Thank you, man. It's been my pleasure. And we still got a few more questions, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you have any cool merch?
Sorry,
Do you have any cool merch?
I haven't what?
Do you have any cool merch?
Oh, cool merch. Do I? Yeah, I'm sorry because you're kind of fuzzy. It's coming in kind of fuzzy. I'm not hearing what you're saying. The only merch I have right now that's present is the CDs, and there's some merch coming out that's going to be called well, I think they're calling it um, little jewel merch, where you take the merch and press it against your phone, and it downloads everything on your phone. So we're going to have that. I'm having a whole bunch of T-shirts made, and some other stuff, some other bear stuff. That's kind of fun, and that will be coming out probably end of summer. Yeah, we'll have that.
No, you gotta hook up your boy with some fresh gear, man. You know that,
Yeah,
right?
I know that. I know that. I'm going to hook you up. I know you. You know I'm going to hook you up. You're going to get some stuff. As soon as the new stuff comes out, you're getting it. Yeah.
So, fun question time. You're on death row, and it's time for your final meal. What is on the menu?
If I was on death row, my final meal would be probably a cake with a file in it, so I
Hmm.
could saw my way out.
Uh, like what kind of cake? Like just a normal chocolate cake?
No, probably key lime pie. Key lime pie. Well, it's been great being with you, man. I really appreciate being on your show. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor and a privilege. And
Mhm.
keep on keeping on. And remember, folks, if you can't help them, don't hurt them. Peace and love.
Peace and love, man. Thank you so much, man. It's been my privilege as
My
well.
pleasure.
You have a
All
good one.
right, man. Take care. Bye bye.